Today we're going to explore vector spaces, one of the most fundamental concepts in linear algebra. So, vector spaces provide the framework for understanding vectors, matrices, polynomials, and even functions in a unified way. So by the end of this lesson, you'll see how these abstract rules apply to many different mathematical objects. So by the way, I am Ivy and Panto, your lecture for this video. So what is a vector's space? So in earlier chapters, we defined addition and scalar multiplication, and we saw that these operations behaved much like real numbers. But mathematicians wanted to generalize this idea further. Instead of limiting ourselves to arrows in space or lists of numbers, we ask, what if we define addition and scalar multiplication on other objects? If they satisfy certain rules, we can call them vectors. This is the motivation behind the vector spaces. So, definition of a vector space. A vector space is a set V together with two operations, the addition and scalar multiplication. So, these operations must satisfy 10 specific axioms. So, scalars usually come from real numbers, but in general, they can come from any field. So, the key idea is if a set and its operations obey these rules, then we can treat its elements as vectors. So, even if they don't look like arrows or coordinate. So axioms of vector spaces. So let's go through the axioms one by one. Okay, so these are the rules that define what it means to be a vector space. Think of them as the laws of the land for vector. So even if one fails, the whole structure collapses. So let's start with number one, the closed under addition. So closure under addition. So it means that if you add two vectors in the set, the result must also be in the set. Again, if you add two vectors in the set, the result must also be in the set. So for example, adding 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, so it gives 4 and 6. So this ensures we don't leave the space when performing addition. Okay, next we have the commutative. Commutativity of addition, so means order doesn't matter. So u plus v is equal to v plus u. So even if we interchange the u and v, the result is still equal. Okay? For associative or associativity of addition, grouping doesn't matter. So the quantity of u plus v plus w is equal to u plus v, u plus the quantity of v plus w. So even if the grouping is not the same, for the left side you have there the first group, the u plus v, and then the right side you group v and u. So this allows us to add multiple vectors without worrying about parentheses. For number 4, the additive identity, there's a zero vector. So there must be a special vector called the zero vector, such that adding it to any vector leaves the vector unchanged. So any number or any vector added to 0 is still unchanged. So that is the additive identity. Okay, next, number 5, additive inverse. Each vector has a negative vector. So it means that every vector must have an opposite. So for example, the inverse of 3 and 4, that is negative 3 and negative 4. So adding them gives the 0 vector. So this guarantees we can cancel out vectors. Okay, next we have the scalar multiplication rules. So for number 6, you have there the closed under scalar multiplication. So it means that multiplying a vector by a real number must produce another vector in the set. So for example, 2 times 3 and 4, so that is equal to 6 and 8, which is still a vector. Okay, next, number 7, distributive over vector addition. So, scalars distribute. So, for example, C times the quantity of U plus V. So, that is equal to C times U plus C times V. So, this ensures consistency when scaling sums. Next, we have number 8, distributive over scalar addition. So, scalars also distribute. So, we will distribute the C, so C plus D times U. We will distribute the U, so it becomes C times U plus D times U. So, this ties scalar addition to vector scaling. Okay, for number 9, compatible with multiplication of scalars. So, compatibility of scalar multiplication. Okay, so it means that multiplying by two scalars in sequence is the same as multiplying by their product. So, C times the quantity of D times U, so we'll distribute the C, so that becomes CD times U. So this keeps scalar multiplication consistent. Next, the last rule, we have multiplying by 1 leaves the vector unchanged. So it means that multiplying by 1 leaves the vector unchanged. So if we multiply 1 to U, so it is equal to U. So this is essential for preserving the identity of vectors. Okay, so in this section, we use the special symbols, okay, for the plus and multiplication. So this is to remind us that these operations might not be the ordinary ones. So we also will point out that for general vector spaces, the set of scalars can be chosen from any field. So in this text, unless otherwise stated, we choose scalars from the set of real numbers. So for example, addition could be defined in a strange way, and scalar multiplication might not look like what we expect. So but as long as the axioms hold, we still have a vector space. Okay, so here's an example. Let V equal to R. So define addition and scalar multiplication by A plus B equal to 2A plus 2B, and K times A is equal to KA. So scalar multiplication is normal. So first, checked the commutativity. So you have there the A plus B equal to 2A plus 2B, and then when you apply the commutativity, so interchange the 2, so that becomes 2B plus 2A, and then simplify, so it is equal to B plus A. So commutativity holds. Next, check the associativity. So for associativity, you interchange the groups. So you have there A plus B, the quantity of A plus B plus C, and then the other one is A plus the quantity of B plus C. So in this case, we have, okay, so the quantity of A plus B plus C is equal to 2A plus B plus C, and then simplify, that is equal to 4A plus 4B plus 2C. And then for the A plus the quantity of B plus C, you have there equal to 2a plus 4b plus 4c. So these are not equal in general. So since associativity fails, this set is not a vector space. So this shows how delicate the axioms are. So one failure disqualifies the whole structure. Okay, another example we have here, let V equal to R, and then define addition and scalar multiplication by A plus B is equal to A exponent B, and K times A is equal to KA. So check for commutativity. So A raised to B is not equal to B raised to A in general. So for example, 2 cubed is equal to 8, but 3 squared is equal to 9. So 8 is not equal to 9. So the commutativity property fails immediately. So therefore, this is not a vector space. Okay, so another example, a more interesting case, let V equal to A and B such that A and B is an element of R. So define addition as V sub 1 and V sub 2 plus the quantity of V sub 1 and what I mean is W sub 1 and W sub 2. That is equal to V sub 1 plus W sub 1 plus 1 and V sub 2 plus W sub 2 plus 1. So scalar multiplication is C times the quantity of V sub 1 and V sub 2, and that is equal to C V sub 1 plus C minus 1 and C V sub 2 plus C minus 1. So for the solution, we have this one. Okay. So closure results are still ordered pairs, and then for the commutativity and associativity, it inherited from real numbers, and then checked for the additive identity. So solving the V sub 1 plus W sub 1 plus 1 and V sub 2 plus W sub 2 plus 1, that is equal to V sub 1 and V sub 2. So it gives W sub 1 equal to negative 1, and then for W sub 2, that is equal to negative 1. So therefore, the zero vector is negative 1 and negative 1. And then for the additive inverse, solving for V plus W, that is equal to negative 1 and negative 1. So it gives the value of W, negative V sub 1 minus 2 and negative V sub 2 minus 2. So all axioms hold. So this unusual definition actually produces a valid vector space. Okay, another example, let A, B, and C be fixed real numbers. So let V be the set of points in three-dimensional Euclidean space that lie on the plane P given by AX plus BY plus CZ equal to 0. Okay, so we'll define addition and scalar multiplication on V coordinate wise, and then verify that V is a vector space. So for this solution, to show that V is a closed under addition, so we will let U be equal to U sub 1 and U sub 2 and U sub 3, and for the V, it is equal to V sub 1, V sub 2, and V sub 3, and B points in V. So the vectors U and V are in V, provided that we have here the U sub 1, A U sub 1 plus B U sub 2 plus C U sub 3, and it is equal to 0, and A V sub 1 plus B V sub 2 plus C V sub 3 equal to, again, it is equal to 0. So now by definition, when you add U plus V, so that is equal to U sub 1 plus V sub 1, U sub 2 plus V sub 2, and U sub 3 plus V sub 3. So we know that U plus V is in V. So since A times U sub 1 plus V sub 1 plus b times u sub 2 plus v sub 2 plus c times u sub 3 plus v sub 3, and then simplify. We have here the a u sub 1 plus a v sub 1 plus b u sub 2 plus b v sub 2 plus c u sub 3 plus c v sub 3, and then group those similar with the u. So you have the a u sub 1 plus b u sub 2 plus c u sub 3, and then the other group is a v sub 1 plus b v sub 2 plus c u sub 3, and that is equal to 0. Why it is equal to 0? Because the value of the first group, so from the given, that is equal to 0, and then the second group, it is also equal to 0. So 0 plus 0, that is equal to 0. Similarly, V is closed under scalar multiplication, since for any scalar alpha, we have alpha times U is equal to alpha U sub 1, alpha U sub 2, and alpha U sub 3. And we also have this A times alpha U sub 1 plus B times alpha u sub 2 plus c alpha u sub 3, and that is equal, since alpha is common, so we factor it out, so it is equal to alpha times the quantity of a u sub 1 plus b u sub 2 plus c u sub 3 equal to alpha times 0. Why is it 0? Because it comes from the given, so that is equal to 0. So alpha times 0, that is 0. So in this case, the 0 vector is 0 0 0, so which is also on the plane P. So since the addition and scalar multiplication defined on V are the analogous operation defined on the vector space, the remaining axioms are satisfied for elements as well. Now, let's look at theorem 1. In a vector space, additive inverses are unique. Suppose we have a vector u. So, if both v and w are additive inverses of u, then by definition, we can say that u plus v is equal to 0 and u plus w is equal to 0. So, using the axioms, we can manipulate these equations to show that v is equal to w. So, this means there can't be two different inverses for the same vector. So, why is this important? So, why is theorem 1 important? So, it is important because it guarantees consistency. So when we talk about the inverse of a vector, we know exactly what it is and there's no ambiguity. And next, we have here theorem 2. That's for the scalar multiplication properties. So this theorem gives us 4 crucial properties that always hold in vector spaces. For number 1, we have here 0 times u equal to 0. So what does it mean? So when we multiply 0 to any vector, so it is equal to 0. So it is the 0 vector. So this matches our intuition from arithmetic. Next, for number 2, 0 times, what I mean is c times 0 is equal to 0. So any scalar times the 0 vector is still the 0 vector. Again, consistent with what we expect. Number 3, we have here negative 1 times u is equal to negative u. So multiplying a vector by negative 1 gives its additive inverse. So this connects scalar multiplication directly to the concept of opposites. And then for the last property, we have if C times U is equal to 0, then either C equal to 0 or U equal to 0. This is a very powerful property. Why? Because it tells us that the only way a scalar times a vector equal to 0 is if one of them is 0. So it's either the C or the U. So this prevents contradictions and ensures the structure behaves logically. So together, these properties reinforce the reliability of vector spaces. So they make sure scalar multiplication interacts with vectors in a predictable way. So application of vector spaces aren't just abstract math. They are actually everywhere in real life. So, for example, in physics, so forces, velocities, and also accelerations are vectors. So, they obey vector space rules, allowing us to add forces or scale them. Another thing is the computer graphics. So, the images, the transformations are modeled using vectors and matrices. The rotations, translations, and scaling all rely on vector space properties. And then for economics, models often use vectors to represent preferences, strategies, or outcomes. Um, Also in engineering, systems of equations describing circuits, structures, or chemical reactions are solved using vector space. So, by abstracting the concept of vectors, mathematicians created a framework that applies across disciplines. So, this is why vector spaces are considered one of the most powerful ideas in mathematics. So, so let's summarize our discussion. Okay, to check if a set is a vector space, verify all 10 axioms and common examples. You have there the matrices, the polynomials, and the r raised to n. And when you say additive inverses, they are unique. And special scalar multiplication rules always hold. So these facts give us a toolkit for recognizing and working with vector spaces. So I guess that's the end of my discussion. Thank you for listening.